I've done over 1,000 transactions totaling $13 billion, I think. Some of those were in New York City where there's bigger deal sizes. The biggest deal I ever did, I worked on the Orlando airport refinancing back in 2015. One tranche of it was $1 billion. It was 3 tranches. I'll tell you this, as an attorney, we are one of the first groups of people that's going to get replaced. And I don't mean replaced completely, but a lot of what we do is going to be replaced because document drafting at its core is not that difficult if you have AI. What's difficult is you have to have someone with a brain to understand the big picture and the scenario and everything like that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by Bishoy Habib. He is a big hitter in many ways. He's got a lot of things going on. He's a lawyer. He's in the real estate transaction space. And he has helped a lot of business owners with basically buying and selling. And he also has a few investments that we might wind up getting into. So I'm really excited to dive in. Bishoy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's start with this. Who are you and how'd you get to where we are today?
Yes, sir. So my tagline, I like to say I'm the realest real estate attorney you know. A little bit about my backstory. I grew up to immigrant parents. They moved here, didn't have anything, didn't know the language, didn't know the culture, and just through hard work and grit made it. And that's what I saw, and that helped mold me. The other thing that they had in common was they were both business owners, small business owners. So my mom was a dentist, had her own practice for 30 years until she passed away. My dad was a pharmacist by trade, but actually a real estate entrepreneur from the time before I was born, actually, until obviously he's still working. And so he's still hustling, even though he didn't have to. But it gave me a soft spot in my heart for entrepreneurialism, for small to medium sized businesses, for people who go out there and get it, which is really the backbone of this country, in my opinion. And so I remember having that itch like my dad. My mom wasn't an entrepreneur necessarily as much as my dad. He was just like a hustler in every sense of the word, in a good way. So that's where I lean towards. You know, my 3 sisters were all dentists. I couldn't, it wasn't my world, didn't understand it, didn't get it. But, you know, when it came to time to making deals and investments and flipping things. And, you know, I used to be on Craigslist all the time, flipping iPods and iPads and TVs and things like that, making way more money than any of my friends working 9 to 5s. This was like high school, college, law school, all that. So that's always what I've liked doing, making deals, putting deals together, structuring deals. That's what's fun to me. Went to law school, didn't know if I was going to practice as an attorney, but it was 2012 when the market was soft. Ended up practicing as an attorney, first 2 years in New York City, came down to Florida after 2 years, and I've just been doing it ever since and gotten pretty good at it. And a couple of years ago, I opened up my own law firm, Levacy Legal, based here in Tampa Bay, but all over Florida. And we focus on transactions. So we do real estate transactions, representing investors, representing lenders, and representing business owners buying and selling their business. And so that's how we ended up here today.
That's awesome, man. You got a lot of irons in the fire. So I guess maybe help the audience understand. So the podcast is the Big Hitters Podcast. So is there something you can share with us about the scope of the work you've done, either the amount of deals you've done or your guys' top line? Like help the audience understand it.
Yeah. So I probably got to update these numbers, but as of a year ago, I've done over 1,000 transactions totaling $13 billion, I think. A lot of those some of those were in New York City where there's bigger deal sizes. The biggest deal I ever did, I worked on the Orlando airport refinancing back in 2015. One tranche of it was $1 billion. It was 3 tranches. I only worked on the first tranche. So that was a $1
Hold on,
billion
I need to interrupt. That's crazy. How did you get that deal? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was working for a firm at the time. This was 10 years ago now. And they, you know, the firm, there's only 50 attorneys in the state who do that kind of work. It's a certain type of finance work. So That experience was awesome. There was probably a dozen attorneys working on that case or that deal. I wasn't the only one. Obviously, everybody had an attorney in that deal, but man, that was fun. You know, those deals last like a year, 9 months to a year, you know, understandably so. The average deal size, I mean, we weren't touching stuff typically under $10 million. The average deal size was in the tens of $1 million at that firm. Multiple deals over 9 figures, not 6 figures, but 9 figures, you know, add that comma. And then we had the one deal that was $1 billion. But that was fun. It's exciting, you know, but just a lot of moving parts and a lot of time to process.
So what's a very typical kind of deal that you're working on? And like, you know, I'm totally naive about this space. So walk me through like what a typical deal is that you're working on with a client.
I give you a couple. I give you there's one on the real estate side I closed last week. If anyone knows Ben Mala, he's a big real estate guy online. He's actually based here in Tampa Bay. He sold a property for $11 million. It was a retail strip center, had a Dollar General, TJ Maxx, a Ross, whatever, 11 million bucks. I was involved in that deal. I represented the lender. They lent 7 million and change to the buyer. So I had to represent the lender's interest. Another deal I'm working on as we speak is a business deal. I have a dentist that I work with. He's based in the Maryland, the DMV area, and he's selling his practice and his business all for around $5 million, right? And so I'm representing him on all of that, the real estate, the business, and then I gotta prepare an employment agreement for him to, you know, come back on for 18 months after that. So could be a real estate deal, could be a business deal, could be a combination of the two, but those are the kinds of deals that I work on a day-to-day basis.
Do people normally bring these deals to you? Like, do you have referral partnerships or is it normally coming to you directly?
It's a lot of things, man. I spent a lot of money on digital marketing last year, my first year on the firm. And what I found out was that you could spend a ton of money. I was still getting 80 to 85% of my business through referrals. And what that told me was if you just do good work and you do right by people, the deals will find you. If you do right by people and they trust, if I refer Bishoy, he's going to do he's going to do good with my clients. So the big three things that I'm very focused on from the time I started my firm that no other attorneys are doing: super responsive, right? That's the number one complaint about attorneys. They take forever. I don't know what they're doing. Number two, we're deal friendly. So we get deals finished, right? We don't kill the deal. We don't over redline. We don't overcomplicate it. If the parties want to make a deal, we'll find a way to make a deal. And number three, we're trustworthy. When we tell you we're going to do something, we're going to do it. We're not going to overbill. We're not going to, you know, say one thing and do another. And so those three pillars I built the firm on. We have a ton of people coming back to us, but that's so a lot of it is referrals. The marketing stuff we're figuring out as we go, but the referrals are just very strong because of that.
Wow. Who would have thought that being responsive and doing good work would be, you know, a marketing strategy?
Let me tell you something. Every time I hear a story from another person saying my attorney this, my attorney that, it's like music to my ears. I'm like, this is too easy. You just got to be a good person and just got to respond, and people come back to you. They think you're the greatest thing on earth, and it's like, it's not that complicated. You just got to do it. We get busy, but you gotta take care of people.
That's great. We were just chopping up before we hopped on this podcast about Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time. So you said you'd actually read it. You know, it was really important to me because I had a mental breakdown from my first company because I had built a very profitable prison. So what does time and energy freedom mean to you? And then how have you either pursued it, achieved it, some mixture of the two?
I'm currently pursuing it transparently. Right now, I'm spending way too much time on the business. My business is a baby. It's in its second year now. I just hired a paralegal, like a really, really good paralegal. She starts on Monday of next week. And so that's going to be step one. I'm looking to hire a marketing person. That's a step two, right? All these things that I'm doing, I'm looking to delegate, right? I'm at that point in my business where, okay, I'm making enough money now that I can hire these people. And now I'm working on creating systems and processes and things like that. Because at the end of the day, you know this and I know this. If the business can't make money without me, I don't have a business, right? That's not how that works. So I'm taking a trip to Japan in September. I've been wanting to go to Japan for years, man.
That sounds amazing.
And so in that 2 weeks that I'm gone, all I'm thinking about is the business going to be okay? How is it going to work? And these are the things that every small business owner thinks about, right? And so I want to get it to a point. I'm not saying in the next 3 months I'll figure it all out, but I want to get it to the point where at least the business is operational without me and continue to grow it that way. And it's okay, but I want it to get to the point where I can do that and not have to worry about it. And we have a whole system in place. And that's really what buying back your time is. I mean, that's one aspect of it, obviously.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm chomping at the bit about talking to you about a virtual assistant because that's been a cheat code for me. So remind me, we'll talk about that
I got
after the
two.
pod. I love
I got
that. Yeah,
two.
that's okay. Cool. Well, actually, it's funny. Like, let's talk about it for a second. How are you using them? What types of roles or things inside your business do you have them doing?
Everything that I'll get more specific. Every time, first of all, obviously I'm not answering my own phones anymore. So there's that, but, sending out engagement agreements, sending out invoices. I do a lot of social media stuff. So if I need them to design a graphic, I send them the graphic and they designed it. If I need them to give me a contact, if I need them to call so-and-so because I need some information, right? Some very basic stuff that doesn't need a paralegal or an attorney. It's not legal work, but it's less than legal work. And now I have them doing, some social media stuff for me. There's limitations to it, but like even just creating, what I do is I'll give them like an idea. Like I do a lot of videos and stuff. So I'll say like, hey, I want to create a video on this. And they'll go, I've taught them how to create a fundamental script. And then I go in and it takes me time to review it, but it still saves me an hour from writing that initial script, right? And they're using tools, of course, but at the end of the day, I have to proofread it, but it still saves me a bunch of time. And so those are some ways that I use them on a day-to-day basis, but there's always more things,
I'm not going to lie. You're speaking my love language. Nothing gets me more fired up than talking about delegating something. So that's awesome. Okay. Artificial intelligence. How are you using it? Where do you feel like you could be using it, but you're not?
I'm using it in a lot of different ways. I'm on Claude. It's my favorite. Claude I use every day, probably about 30, 40, 50 times a day. Sometimes it's helping me create scripts. Sometimes it's topics. Sometimes it's legal stuff, right? Like Perplexity, if you like research. What I tell people, everyone talks about ChatGPT. I rarely use it. I have the Plus account for all three. ChatGPT is the one I use the least. The one I use the most, Claude, it's more everyday, just questions, talking
What
to
do you
it.
like?
Maybe a
That's
little.
so interesting because anybody that's using it is using chat. So what do you like better about Claude? I'm really curious.
I just feel like Claude is a better. Uh, I feel like Chat GPT just sounds more like a robot to me, and I think it's good for like recipes and creative. Claude is still good with that. I think Claude also has better research capabilities, at least that's just my small experience.
Mhm.
Perplexity, if you're just straight research, and sometimes I do as an attorney, Perplexity is number one. I don't think it's even close. And the deep research function, you got to check that out. I think you have to pay. I pay $20 a month for each of the three. Well worth the 20. It's not even a question. Um, there's Grok is good. Gemini is good. And then there's a new one I haven't had a chance to try. It's called GenSpark, but that's supposed to be agentic AI, where you actually have an agent go out and book I want to fly to Japan these dates, book me tickets, plan my trip, and book me the hotels. I haven't done all that yet, but that's where we're going, right? We call it agentic AI. So those are the ones that if you're new, just go play with them. I had lunch with a broker last week, a good friend of mine, and he's probably like 50, and he's like, yeah, I want to get into this whole AI thing. I haven't. I'm like, dude, I'll send you an email. I sent him an email with all the things, and he's excited. He's fired up. But everyone should be doing. Doesn't matter if you're 20 or 50 or 80. You should still be playing with it because it's the future.
Where do you feel like you could be using it, but you're not?
I think to automate things within my system, I'll tell you this: as an attorney, we are one of the first groups of people that's going to get replaced, and I don't mean replaced completely, but a lot of what we do is going to be replaced because document drafting at its core is not that difficult if you have AI. What's difficult is you have to have someone with a brain to understand the big picture and the scenario and everything like that. It's good at drafting little clauses and blurbs. So there will come a time the technology is not out there because I know the people that own the big companies promoting the tech. We're not there in this point in time. In a year from now, we will be, where it can auto draft long documents. Again, we're not there today. So those are areas that I think we could all improve on, and we will. And at that point, I'm not scared about my job. What my philosophy is, as long as I stay ahead of it, there will always be a job for me. It's just going to evolve, right? So instead of doing the basic stuff like, figuring out how to word this thought that I have, now it's going to be worded automatically. Now I think about bigger picture. What other concepts do we need to include in here, right? Just things like that, doing higher level work. And I think that's what AI is going to do to all of us, make us more efficient.
I love that. And I see it as a tool to leverage, right? So my kind of thesis statement about AI is it's just a tool to create freedom. Case in point, what I'll probably do is take this Riverside clip that you and I are doing right now, and I'll drop it into Opus clips. But it's not going to be like 100% quite right. So my virtual assistant is probably going to have to do that for me. But that just made his job 10 times easier, right? So at the end of the day, like, I love what you said. You're using it as a tool to leverage it. And as long as you're forward thinking and staying ahead of the competition, it's not going to replace you. It's just going to help you get that much better, right?
100%. 100%. We tried using AI callers, not for my law firm, for my real estate business, as an investor. We were probably too soon on that. I think the AI callers are getting better now. We tried this almost a year ago. It was probably like last September, and it didn't really work out too well. But that's the next 6 to 9 months. I think people are probably already getting a bunch of AI calls now. They have to disclose their AI bots, but that's an area too that we're going to see a big uptick in the AI. 100%, all of us.
Yeah, totally. I actually, it's an interesting point too on the legal side of things. My company uses ChatGPT to draft like our agreement that we send to clients for our virtual assistants. Like, hey, sign this agreement. You're going to be a client. We're going to be, provider, blah, blah, blah. Like, what are some pitfalls and things that people need to be aware of when using AI to do that kind of thing?
Well, AI is not there yet. It really isn't. And it's not a self-serving statement. It's an honest statement. If you have a 1-page document to draft, AI can do that today, right? It's not, It can. If you tell me something with a VA, yeah, that's fine. That's not a big deal. Where you run into trouble though is where you try to draft, serious legal documents like a lease or like a contract to buy a home or anything with like real ramifications. You don't want to do that because who are they calling when they sign these GPT contracts and then 6 months or a year later there is a default or a breach or whatever and they send me these contracts. I'm like, dude, I use this tool every day. This is a contract you got offline from GPT and it doesn't include XYZ that it should be including. And it's just, you're in trouble. It's going to cost you so much more to fix this issue than it would have if you just done it right on the front end. The other thing that pisses me off is when clients are like, hey, how much is it to do XYZ? And I quote them, like, draft a document. And they're like, all right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draft it on ChatGPT and then I'm just going to have you review it. Is that cheaper? And I'm like, that's more expensive because you're giving me crap. I know if I start from scratch,
I love that.
You're making it harder. You're making me work harder for a crappier document. So I get it. I mean, that's a thing. And so, just be careful, be judicious. If you're doing something between you and a buddy and there's low risk, yeah, that's fine. You're signing $1 million deal. Don't use GPT. Even if you use a $100,000 deal, don't use that because it's not that good yet. I'm just telling you honestly. I use it every day. It's not that good yet.
That's great. It reminds me, I think I saw like on a plumbing van somewhere. It's like there was like a package the plumber had for fixing the work that your husband didn't do well or something like that. And it was like actually more expensive. And I'm like, man, that's 100%. Like as a financial advisor by trade, like people come to me with a long list of questions that was clearly generated by ChatGPT. So I'm like, hey, would love to answer these questions and go over these point by point, but this is clearly not what's really on your mind. This is just a generic list of 10 questions that you had AI generate. So
the best is like, I get that all the time. And the best is like, they don't even reformat it. It's just clearly copied and pasted with like the same, like the emails in a different text and that's in a different size. And it's like, dude, you got it. Yeah.
All right. Final question. This is your chance to stand on any soapbox. Is there a hot take that you want to share? Is there a cause you're really passionate about? Is there, as a business owner, something that you really want to pour into our audience? Like the floor is yours.
That's a very broad question. First of all, I always tell people do the right thing and it'll pay off. So there's my little, save the world speech for the day. I would just say I'm an attorney, and where people get in the most trouble is trying to do things themselves early on and save a dollar to spend 10 down the line when things don't pan out. Um, it would be a lot easier if you had the right help from the beginning, and somebody that took care of you, protected you on a legal sense, because down the line you're tight, you're covered. You don't have to worry about potential litigation, or you have a much lower risk of that, which is really where you spend a lot of the money. So if you don't have an attorney, you should get somebody that you trust. This is if you're doing business and you need help. Um, that's something I always preach to people. I always feel bad when they hire me after the fact, and I'm like, this is a really crappy fill in the blank. You should have had someone do it for you. So that's kind of my spiel to people. Um, I mean, that's it. And I can tell people how to reach me as well. I don't know if that's one of your questions or not.
Yeah, I always say, hey, how do people find out more about who you are and what you do? Where would they go?
So on social media, look me up. It's at Attorney Bishoy, Attorney Bishoy, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn is under my name, and then I think I'm on TikTok. I am on TikTok as well. Levacy Legal is the name of the law firm. Levacy Legal Legal.com. And look, I mean, we get stuff done. We're quick. We're on top of it. We make deals happen. We can plug you in with the right people. I love movers and shakers. I love entrepreneurs. I love business people, investors, and hustlers. And so that's who I target. And I get along very well with all those people.
I do know before we hopped on the call, you wanted to mention just something about some of the investments you've done. Was there anything that we missed on that front?
No, we didn't miss it, but I mean, I just think that it helps me connect with clients when they know that we're doing the same kinds of deals. And so, I do real estate deals. I have my own business, obviously, that I'm starting right now. Um, I started a real estate brokerage a year and a half ago. We had 20 agents. I stepped away from that to focus more on the law firm. Just about a month ago, I stepped away from it, but I understand that business very well. I understand the legal business. And then I'm also invested as a silent partner. I've invested in probably over 40 deals at this point. A lot of them were real estate related or tied. We're raising money for a new one. If anyone's interested, you could reach out to me. So 12% interest paid monthly. So I'm always involved in deals, and anybody that needs, whether you need money, whether you have a deal, or whether you have money, whether you have a deal, I love piecing those things together. That's what I do best. So if you're looking for money, you have money, you don't know where to park it, any of that stuff, give me a shout, and I'm always happy to talk through it with you as well. Not as a financial advisor, but as somebody who's plugged in and knows what's going on in the deal space.
They can come to me for that. We could be a 1-2 punch.
I was going to say, I'm not here to take your job. I'm not advising on financials, but if you are looking to, partner into some deals and have some money, I'm happy to plug you in with some of my clients or some of my deals that I'm working on. So
last parting question, it just came up because, man, you're doing a lot of cool stuff. What's the most unique side hustle you've ever engaged in? Was it the Craigslist thing? Now I'm just really curious.
I do credit card processing, and it's random, right? Like, I don't lead with that because as a real estate attorney, or a real attorney, why would you do that? But I'll tell you, I've done a lot of side hustles, and literally the work that I do on the credit card processing, I get a deposit, a wire or ACH every month on the same day. And I have a business partner, and all I got to do is send him his half, and that's my work for the month. We're hiring somebody probably to go grow it, but we're making six figures plus this year on that. And that's the literal definition of mailbox money. Being a landlord is not mailbox money. You're still a damn landlord. This is, as long as those clients stay on board, and it's a very sticky industry, those people stay. That's recurring revenue. And what I'll pitch to you and what I'll pitch to everybody, anybody that has a business, or anybody that knows somebody with a business, we can make you residuals if you just make one connection. We have somebody we've paid $10,000 to because his dad owned a hotel. He connected us with his dad. We saved his dad $10,000 a year. We're paying him $10,000. We've paid him so far $10,000. And all he did was literally hook us up with his dad. So there's a lot of money to be made because these credit card processing companies are very scammy, and they'll rip you off. We can come in 90% of the time, we could save you money. And then everybody's happier that way as well. So the credit card processing game is super random, but it's a ton of money in it. And it's residual income forever as long as that client stays on. And we love to share the wealth because that's how we all make money. So that's probably one of them.
I know that's true because I have some good friends through my mentors, the Benham brothers, and they own a company in Tennessee and they are crushing it. And that's all they're doing. So I know what you're saying is the truth. Bishoy, thanks so much for joining us today, man. This is fascinating. I really enjoyed it. And hey, everybody, go check out Bishoy. Go follow him on social media. Check out his website. And then if you know anybody who is doing any sort of real estate transactions and or looking to buy or sell a business, hit Bishoy up and he can help you out. Cool.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.